This is the Asus TUF A15, and it kind of fits into this category of like mid-chunky gaming laptops. Now, this one falls in more like the upper end of the price point. It sits at around $1,400 to $1,600. Again, check the live pricing in the description below when it's available. I've still yet to be able to find one at the recording of this video online and available. So check that out. It'll be there when it is ready, but if it's not, I do apologize. But this kind of fits in with like the Legion 5, the Acer Predator Helios, the Nitro 5, the HP Victus, kind of this more mid-range, thicker form factor. I even would throw the HP Omen in with this as well. And so with that in mind, that's kind of the perspective that I'm comparing this laptop to when I am talking, okay? And so if I mentioned budgets, I'm talking about that kind of tier point, anywhere from around $1,200 to $1,600 price point. Now keep in mind, I do like this laptop for a number of reasons. It has an aluminum top cover. It has a really nice full-size keyboard deck with a small numpad on the right side. I like the keys. They have a nice soft touch feel. It has an RGB keyboard. It has a nice large trackpad. So for the creative professionals that this channel is built for, it has what you need to not only be an on-the-go creator, but also enjoy your gaming from time to time. We do have a webcam on the top bezel of the screen, and we do have a 15.6 inch screen. This is not the 16:10 aspect ratio. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio. We have a good color gamut range. So as you can see, the color gamut range results coming up on the screen. We have a 98% sRGB, a 74% Adobe RGB, and a 74% DCI-P3, all at a Delta E of 1.03 and 351 nits of brightness, okay? So it has a good screen being in this more kind of mid-tier price point. But that's kind of becoming normal more and more as we have these mid-tier price laptops. It was kind of rare in the past maybe 3 to 5 years to have a decent screen on a gaming laptop and have a decent price point. And so understand that what I'm really excited about in this category is the fact that the prices are not increasing too dramatically. Because if you look back a few years, these laptops have always been priced at about the $1,200 to $1,500 range, but they've just gotten better. So though we see a lot of different financial situations happening in the world, we're not seeing these laptops absorbently increase in price point, which is great for us, the consumers. Okay, before I kind of continue too long on that, let's make sure we cover the things that I didn't cover in the unboxing. If you're curious about my entire thoughts on the build quality and maybe, just like my first impressions of the laptop, I'll link up the full unboxing at the end of this video. But let's get into some of those key elements we weren't able to cover. Now, also, if you're curious about how it sounds to type on the keyboard and use the trackpad, here's a quick audio sample of that as well. Now, one of the things that stands out to me about this laptop is it is a solid feel. It doesn't have that cheap hollow plastic feel. During my unboxing, I did the tap test, but I'll do it here again just so you can hear. So top cover feels very nice. And you can hear that on the bottom cover, it is that plastic material, but it doesn't sound rattly and cheap. It has a more affordable material, being that it's plastic, but it doesn't feel like that cheap, chunky, thick, plastic. While discussing the build, the weight and thickness on this laptop is pretty good. It's thinner than, a lot of the big, thick, chunky gaming laptops, but it's in no way a thin and light on-the-go friendly laptop. However, the weight is not exactly overwhelming. It's actually a pretty light package for the size of the laptop. Now, regarding the ports, we do have a lot of connectivity. As you can see here on the left side panel, we have our power port, our network jack, HDMI, 2 USB Type-Cs, a headphone jack, and a USB Type-A. On the right side, we just have a singular USB Type-A and a Kensington lock. So it's got great connectivity for all your needs as far as gaming and creator work is concerned. However, it does not have an SD card slot, so if you're somebody who often uses SD cards and wants to bring that into your computer, you'll need a dongle for that. Now, one of the areas that I was hoping for better results would be the battery life. The battery life isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It does get around 7 hours of battery life while using the Passmark productivity benchmark, and about 6 hours and 30 minutes while streaming video playback on YouTube, and then about 5 hours for Photoshop. That's the Puget Systems Photoshop benchmark run on repeat until the battery goes dead, and then about 3 hours and 30 minutes for video editing. Basically, how that works is I have a 4K project open and I run the project on loop until the battery goes dead. So the battery life is good-ish, but it's not great. It does not have that really nice, efficient Ryzen 9 6900HS processor. This is the Ryzen 7 6800H. These are not built to be specifically efficient processors. They're more focused on that mid-tier performance category. These battery life results are very comparable to something like the Legion 5i Pro from Lenovo that has the i7-12700H CPU inside of it. Do keep in mind that that laptop is about $1,000 more than this laptop here. So when we're talking budgets compared to the latest Legion 5i Pro and the Asus TUF A15, you're going to save about $1,000. And so let's think about that aspect as we jump into the performance benchmarks. So first and foremost, as we're looking at Cinebench R20, R23, and Geekbench single core and multi-core, you can see that this laptop is in the upper results of the latest laptops I've been reviewing on my channel. As we move into Cinebench R23 single core performance, you can see it's going to be about 200 points less in performance as that laptop I just mentioned. But again, you're saving about $1,000. As we move into multi-core performance, it's really amazing to see Intel give us that much more performance as far as these simulated benchmarks are concerned. But life is not made up of simulated benchmarks, so let's get into the real world test results. And as we move into the real world test results, you can see that there's only about a 30-point difference between the Legion 5i and this Asus TUF A15 inside of Autodesk 3ds Max and Autodesk Maya. So again, with that financial savings, you're still getting great performance out of this laptop. Moving into PTC Creo and SolidWorks, the gap closes actually even more, and you're getting pretty similar performance between the two laptops. I'm just using this as a benchmark because I recently reviewed the Legion 5i and it's fresh on my mind. Now let's continue to move forward into After Effects. And in After Effects, this laptop still gets great results. The high 700s, which is great for After Effects. It's gonna perform well, but it just doesn't top the charts. So again, for this kind of mid-tier, it's performing very well and it's at a good spot. Now moving into video editing, this is one area that I was impressed with its results. However, the one thing that really I'm not fond of about this specific CPU is it gets rather hot. So if you're somebody who does not like a hot CPU, then I would definitely try and find maybe a different laptop to go with. It's just a preferential thing. I think this is a fantastic buy, but it is have a warmer CPU. So for instance, with our best export time out of Premiere Pro, which is about 4 minutes and 18 seconds, it used 58 decibels of fan noise, and it was 95 degrees Celsius at the peak. It kind of hovered around the 91 to 92, but still it peaked out at about 95 degrees Celsius. Now, as you're using the computer, the keyboard deck actually remains quite cool comparatively. I was recently benchmarking the Razer Blade 15, which has a cool CPU read, but as you're touching your hands on the keyboard deck, it felt like I was about to burn my hand. And I'm not being dramatic. It was that hot. I was like, I touched it and I was like, that's really hot. And so what I mean by that is it's pushing the heat away from the CPU, but it's channeling it through all that aluminum and you're feeling it on the keyboard deck. And so that's the one thing I like about this laptop is that it isn't gonna hurt the CPU being that hot. And the nice thing is it doesn't push that heat towards you on the keyboard deck. One thing I was very happy about was the playback. So though the export times get a little hot, though they're a little bit longer than some other laptops, the playback on this laptop was stellar. Man, that combination of the Ryzen 7 6800H and the RTX 3060 in this thing got 230 drop frames in 6K B-RAW and only 1,000 in 6K red footage. That's the best 6K red footage I've ever seen on my channel. That beat out the Legion 5i, which got 3,462 or something. So this laptop has phenomenal playback in Premiere Pro, which for a Ryzen processor has not been the case in the past. So that was awesome. Now moving on to DaVinci Resolve, you can see that we have a 3-minute and 8-second export time from 1080p and a 7-minute and 43-second export time for 4K. This will also have good playback in DaVinci Resolve, and will have those similar temperatures as we saw for the Premiere Pro results. Now, one thing to point out is we're moving on to Photoshop, and there were tons of different configurations to test for Photoshop. So keep in mind, I'm gonna be running those tests, verifying them, and that will be in the full 1-month review. I'm gonna run through all the different fan mode combinations for video editing and Photoshop, give you the battery life result, give you the thermal performance and all that. So that way you can see how well this laptop performs in the different thermal modes. So subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on that 1-month review. I love to do those, kind of take it a little more in depth with these different settings. But for Photoshop, we saw a top score of 853, and that was on optimized turbo mode. And the high temperature was about 76 degrees Celsius, and the low temperature during that benchmark was 55 degrees Celsius. So this laptop does have good thermals. It's just when you're pushing it to the max for a 4K export, that's where we see those warmer thermal temperatures. So overall, I think this is a good pick for the category. It's got great performance, great playback, which means a lot to me as a constant video editor of YouTube videos. And so it really be a good buy. I like the aluminum top cover. I like that it is well assembled. And overall, it's gonna be something that I think you'll enjoy using. Now, more videos coming up on the channel, the full 1-month review. Definitely subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on that stuff. Otherwise, links in the description below when they're available if you wanna make a purchase, likes if this video has brought you some value, and subs if you wanna miss out on those future uploads. I'll see you here in the next one.